Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are breaking down the surprising, often totally hidden realities of unpaid family caregiving, and we're using some brand new exclusive data from a 2026 U.S. News survey to do it. Listen, this isn't just a healthcare issue. It is a profound socioeconomic shift happening right beneath the surface of our economy.
Let's kick things off with a staggering number that will absolutely blow your mind: 60 million. Right now, there are 60 million individuals in the U.S. acting as unpaid caregivers to adults. They essentially form a highly vulnerable foundation for our entire healthcare system. These are just ordinary people thrust into incredibly complex medical and administrative roles, often literally overnight because of a loved one's sudden accident or maybe a slow-moving diagnosis like dementia.
So to truly wrap our heads around this massive shift, we're going to explore 5 key areas today: the new caregiver profile, the hidden financial toll, the protection paradox, overcoming the guilt, and finally, fixing the system.
Let's jump right into Section 1, the new caregiver profile, shattering stereotypes.
Get this, the 2026 survey data reveals an exact 50-50 gender split. This completely overturns that outdated myth that family caregiving falls overwhelmingly on women. It doesn't. It is a universal challenge impacting sons and daughters alike.
And you've got to check out these age brackets, because caregiving is happening to people right in their peak earning years. A massive 68% of caregivers fall between 35 and 54. So this isn't just a retirement issue, right? It's a mid-career crisis.
If you fall into that demographic, you might know exactly what it feels like to be part of the sandwich generation. You are facing this intense logistical and financial squeeze of trying to support 2 generations at the exact same time. And with extended life expectations and delayed financial independence for younger folks, this squeeze, well, it's lasting longer than ever before.
Moving on to Section 2, the hidden financial toll, time and money penalties.
This is where it gets really intense. For over 40% of these individuals, the ones putting in more than 40 or even 60 hours a week, caregiving is literally a second full-time job. And remember, that's layered right on top of their actual careers and their childcare duties.
Because these demands are so sudden and intense, caregivers get hit with what we call the double penalty. Basically, they're forced into severe career disruptions. They end up declining promotions, cutting their hours, or just exiting the workforce altogether. And this doesn't just mean losing a few paychecks. It permanently lowers their lifetime wealth and completely destroys their pension and retirement accumulation. And while their income is dropping, their expenses are skyrocketing. They are simultaneously spending between 10% and 25% of their annual income on out-of-pocket care expenses. We're talking about basic medical supplies that average up to $400 a month, and specialized transit at $100 a ride. For over 8% of caregivers, this easily eclipses $10,000 every single year.
Which brings us to Section 3, the protection paradox, sacrificing security.
So what exactly is the caregiving protection paradox? Well, it happens when families become so entirely consumed by urgent, immediate care costs that they actively start cutting their own financial safety nets. Life insurance usually goes on the chopping block first, leaving the caregiver's own future incredibly vulnerable.
And this next number is honestly terrifying. If a primary earner, who also happens to be the caregiver, passes away without life insurance because they had to cut it from the budget to pay for care, 40% of families would face major financial hardship within just 6 months. 20% would face it in just 1 month. Let that sink in.
It creates a total vicious cycle. 1 in 3 drain their personal savings, and millions are skipping insurance entirely. By cutting these protections today just to survive, they are essentially dooming their surviving relatives to take on the exact same crushing financial and logistical burdens tomorrow. It is quite literally a generational trap.
That leads us into Section 4, overcoming the guilt, seeking professional care.
You might be wondering, if the toll is this devastating, why not just hire help? Well, professional senior care ranges from nearly $6,000 to over $10,000 a month. But even when families can afford it, they hesitate because of this tragic irony. On one side, families are crippled by a psychological blockade. Guilt and overwhelm prevent them from getting help. But on the flip side, the vast majority, 73% of families who actually do hire professional help, are highly satisfied with it. Only a tiny fraction ever regret it.
We really have to recognize that this emotional blockade is incredibly dangerous. Nearly half of all surveyed caregivers report feeling profoundly overwhelmed and emotionally drained. Holding off on professional help doesn't show love. It actually just worsens caregiver burnout and makes the eventual inevitable transition to 24/7 care vastly more traumatic for everyone involved.
Okay, Section 5, Fixing the System, Systemic Solutions.
So how do we actually fix this before the system breaks entirely? These 4 systemic steps, grounded in the 2026 data, give us a roadmap. We need employers to step up with flexible hours to prevent talent loss. We need financial planners to actively protect families against that protection paradox we talked about. We desperately need policymakers to simplify tax credits. And finally, public health officials have got to destigmatize professional care so families ask for help way earlier.
Because, right now, the public safety net has some massive gaps. Medicare, for instance, can be incredibly slow to cover new treatments even after they get FDA approval. Families absolutely must proactively navigate complex financial instruments, things like HSAs, Medicare set-asides, and Medicaid early on. You literally cannot afford to wait for a crisis to strike to figure out these rules.
As we wrap up this explainer today, I want you to take a hard look at your own financial and emotional readiness. Caregiving is a role almost every single one of us will step into at some point, whether we see it coming or not. So ask yourself this vital question right now. Is your family's safety net truly secure? And when the time comes, who will care for the caregiver? Think about it, talk to your family, and start planning today.